Okay, so good morning, everybody. I'm sorry, some folks are having issues. We'll try to get them resolved. But everything in web design here is very tricky. You have to make sure that you follow the sequence of instructions precisely and make sure that your typing is accurate and spaces are where there should be and that sort of thing. It is, I mean, I run in, as long as I've been doing this, run into the same issues that you guys are. So, but before we move on to the header today, that's what I wanted to add. And what the header will look like is this here, where it says green start, and you see the little fern behind it and the stripes, and you see the little orange bar at the top and orange bar at the bottom and that sort of thing. That's what we're going to be working on today. And if we have enough time, we'll start to work on the asides and then the main content. Okay, so let me go back here. But what I forgot to do is that what you want to do is you need to make sure that you create a new selector that says, so let's look here under, okay, there's our designer. And it should be just .row space .navbar, and that's it. And it looks like I've done nothing. You'll see that I have show set selected here. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that there is no space between the navbar and the header. So even though down below here it says 0 pixels, you need to click on that and you need to highlight it and you need to put in 0. And it makes no sense to me, but that's web design. Okay, and what it does, you'll notice that it pushes up just a little bit. So next step, what we're going to do now is we're going to move into the header column here. And what I want to do inside the header is I'm going to add some text. And the text is going to be for green start, and it's going to be for the green awareness and action along the bottom of that. So there's a variety of ways that we can add that. We can go ahead, and I want to make sure that the column is selected, column small 12. I'm going to go to insert here, and then I'm going to go to make sure that I have HTML selected. And what I want to do is I'm going to add a header, or a heading rather, and I want to add an H2 tag. Okay, and I want it nested. Okay, and you'll notice that it's inserted an H2 tag in here. So now what I need to do is click inside it, and it should change to orange, and that allows me to highlight this. And once it's highlighted, I can now type in what I want, which is green start. Okay, so we have our H2 tag, which will be used for the logo, and we're going to change the type soon, and we're going to change all of its properties, and we're going to enhance it and add drop shadows and all that good stuff. Now what I want to do is I want to hit the return key, and what that should do is that should add a new paragraph tag, and if I look down here, you can see that it does. Okay, so but what it's done in here is it's added space, no backspace. What I can do is I can either do it from the code view down here, or I can do it from up here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put all caps on here, and I'm going to type in green awareness and action. Okay, so we have our what will be our logo, and we'll have the tagline below. So the next thing that we want to do is we're going to create a style let me switch back to CSS Designer here. We're going to start creating styles that will impact the header of our website. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to affect our H2 tag inside the header. So to do that, I'm going to make sure that I have green styles selected here. Okay. I'm going to come down to selectors. And I'm going to hit the plus sign to create a brand new one. And what I want to do is I'm going to create header.row space H2. So header, whoops, I don't want it all caps. It needs to be lowercase. Header dot row space H2. Hit the return key a couple times. And I've added that. Now, when I select this, and this is what you should see. It's difficult to see sometimes, especially for the nav bar, but when it's on a white background, notice that when I click on the header.row H2, notice that the H2 tag is highlighted in blue. That's what you want to see. Then you know that you've named it correctly and that it's affecting the area of the page that you want to change. So what I'm going to do now here is I'm going to make sure that I turn off show set because we don't have anything assigned to it just yet. And make sure that all is selected. And then I can come in here and under the text, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to assign a color to this. So I'll click on the little color here. And the color that they want us to use is, I got to make sure that I have it here. And I don't know what it is. So I'm going to, oh, it's hashtag 0F0. And it's this really intense bright green. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to add that to our color palette here. And I'll select and notice that I've added that. The next thing that we want to do is we're going to change the font for this, or actually the whole font family. So I'm going to come under here and you'll notice that we have it set to default, but I'm going to click here. And the one that they want us to use is Impact Hetzschweiler, Franklin Gothic. This is a whole family of typefaces. Now, the reason that they do this, and I'll introduce this now, is that the one that we want first is Impact. But oftentimes, because the type is not embedded in your file, it's determined, the font that's used is determined by the end user and what's available on that person's computer and how their browser renders it. So if they don't have Impact on their computer, it's going to jump to the next one, which is the Hetzschweiler. And then if they don't have that, it will jump to Franklin Gothic Bold. If they don't have that, it will go to Arial Black. And if they don't have any of these, it will go to a default sans serif typeface. So I'm going to select that, and you'll notice that it immediately changed. Okay, so that's what we want next. So we've added one more style to that. Now, in addition to that, we're going to change the size of it. So we're going to come back over here under font size. And we're not going to use pixels. We're going to use percentages. In web design, percentages are used quite often because depending on the device that's viewing your page will be very different. So 350%, which is what we're supposed to change this to, on our large screen on our computer is going to be different than 350% on a small screen. So that's what I'm putting in here. I'm going to go ahead and hit the tab key and notice that I've changed the size of it. The next thing that we want to do is we want to add drop shadows. So if we look under text shadows, under H, they want us to put 0 pixels. So even though it says 0, I need to put 0 in there. And then hit the tab key. Now under V shadow, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put 5 pixels. And again, these are kind of standard sizes. And then we want under blur, I think we want 5 pixels. Whoops, blur 5 pixels. I'll hit the tab key. And now the color that we're going to use, they're using, in this particular case, because this is going to be, we're going to add transparency. And the only way you can do that, you can't use hexadecimal numbers for that. So what we're going to do down here, let me go ahead and put in the number that they want. So it's going to be black, which is 0, 0, 0. And then what we want to do one more time, comma after each of these. And then we want 0.40. So what we have here, if I put in 1, that's 100%. And what we want is 40%. So that's done by way of using a decimal point. So now if I hit the tab key and I come back up here, did I do it right? Let's go ahead. We got 0. No, I selected the wrong one. There we go. I want 0, 0, 0. Let's select the color in here. And I thought I had selected the RGBA. And I guess I didn't. So I'm going to put in 0.4. And let's see what we get here. And let's click off of it. Yeah, this is coming up correct now. So if I want, I can add that as well and come up here. And you can see the drop shadow that's been added. So that works out nicely. One other thing that we need to do is this needs to be centered. So I'm going to go back over here again under all these properties that we can add for the type, where it says text align. I'm going to go ahead and click center, and that centers it. So we're in good shape. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is we want where it says green start now, we want the start to be white. So now what we have to add is something called a span tag. So it's this custom span tag that will only affect that one word, and that's it, or wherever you add a particular class that we've assigned to this span tag. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit Command T. Let's see. Actually, and I want to wrap it in there, and I want to put a span. Okay. So now if I highlight this again, you'll see that we have a span tag that's been added. If I come back here, I don't want it to be bold. There we go. So if I just click on it once, you'll see how it says span. And if I look in the code, you'll see how it has the H2 tag that wraps around everything, but then there is a span tag that wraps around just the word start. So what I want to do is change this, and I'm going to make a custom class that will affect this. So we're really drilling down to something very specific. So what I want to do now is put in dot, and I want to put in the name logo white. Okay, and I'm going to hit the return key, and I'm done here. Now I should see over here in my selectors a brand new one named logo white. Now what I can do is I can come under text, what I had selected before, and I'm going to select a color for it, and I want white. And I'll come back up here, and you'll notice that it changed, but it didn't change the rest of it because that's how specific this is. It's a class contained within a span tag. So it gets more as we get more and more specific, and we want to target really narrow areas, we have to create these custom classes for this. Okay. So I created the span tag, and I used the quick tag editor for that. But now what we're going to do is we're going to affect the text below. And we're going to do this. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select this, and we need to create under here, we're going to create a brand new selector just for that. And now we want to create header row P tag. So it'll be header let's see, header dot row, and I want P, and there we go. So it will just select, it will affect just the paragraph tag inside the header. So now what I can do is I'm just going to go back up under text again, and I want it centered just to show that that will be centered there. And then there's a variety of things that we're going to change to it. We want it to be bold. And I don't think we're going to change the font family at all, but we want it to be bold. We want it to be centered. So under font style, let's go ahead and change that to, no, font weight, my mistake. Under here, we're going to make bold. There we go. So now it's bold, it's centered, and I'm going to add a drop shadow to that. So it's going to be, the properties will change a little bit. We're going to go ahead and under V shadow, we want 0. Under, I'm sorry, 8 shadow 0, V shadow 3 pixels instead of 5. And under blur, we still want 5 pixels. And then under color, I'm going to click on that. And we're going to go back again to black. And I think they want 40% again. No, they want a little bit darker. They want it 50%. Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll click. And there we have our drop shadow there. But I need to change the color of the text to white. And now that I've changed the, added a drop shadow, we should be able to see that okay. Okie doke. One final thing, they want us to stretch it out. So the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add under letter spacing 0.5 ems. So if I come back up here and I look at it, let's see where letter space, we have letter spacing here. It's down here. Letter spacing, we're going to use ems. Ems, again, are like percentages. An M refers to in typography when they used to use, let me go back here. Yeah, and ems, I want it 0.5 ems. 0.5. And that stretches it out. So 1 M would be the space of just that, the letter form M and a mono space typeface. So what I'm suggesting to this, what I'm doing in my design here is I'm taking half the space of a mono spaced M and put that space between each letter form. I'm really increasing it considerably. And it makes it a little bit easier to read. It's a little bit aesthetically, a little bit more interesting by doing it that way. Then one of the next things that we're going to do now is we're going to build the background inside this now that we've affected all of our type. So now what I want to do is I'm going to create under styles. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a new selector. And this is just going to be header.row. So I can deselect all of this. And I'm just going to go ahead and under a new selector, I want it to be header.row. So this affects anything in this entire row named header. And what I want to do now is I want to create a background color. So I'm going to switch up here under all and CSS Designer. I'm going to go to the background properties. And the color that we're going to use is, I got to look here. Actually, you know what? We're not going to put the color in there just yet. My mistake. So let me just leave that blank. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put in a background image instead. And this is where we put in the fern. I want to make sure that I'm going in the same order that the book is doing. But you know what? I already missed something else. I'm going to go back over here. I want to make sure that we go ahead and under margins. Yeah, it's easy to forget things. That I put 20 pixels, top and bottom. So I'm just going to use the shorthand. I'm going to put in 20 pixels, 20 px. And I'm going to put along the left and right, I'm going to put 0 pixels. Oh, come on. 20 pixels and 0 pixels. There we go. So notice that added some space there. So now what I want to do is I'm going to put in the image of the fern. So I can go now jump to the background image. And where it says background image, I'm going to click on the folder. Okay. We're going to browse. And where does it go? It goes to the image folder contained inside our root folder. I want to select the fern, which is a PNG file. And you can see why it's a PNG file is because it has, we're able to add transparency to the background here. Now, by default, we could have used the GIF, but a ping is more current and probably a better choice. Also notice that when you add background images, by default, they automatically tile. Now, this is the size of the image. And if I were to had a larger div to put it in, it would just keep repeating and repeating until it filled the whole background. Well, we'll notice here where it says background repeat. I don't want it to repeat. I want no repeat. So now we only see it once. But now what we have to do is we need to place it and resize it. So I'm going to come down to the background position. And what they want us to do is they want us to move this over 47%. So I'm going to change that to 47. Let's go ahead and type it in here. 47. So that centers it. And they want to the right here, we just want to use centered. So hold on, let me go back again. I should be able to put center here. No. There we go, center. That's what I want. Okay, so it centers it, and now we need to size it. And to size it, we're going to use for the top and bottom first. So we're going to select size. We're just going to use auto. And then we're going to use to the right. We're not going to use auto. We're going to use 81%. So we'll switch to percentage. Where's my percentage? There we are. There we go. And when you see that happen for it to disappear, that's actually a good thing. That means that that it's working. Now I just put in the correct size. And that was, I don't want 96%, I want 81%. But again, that's sort of arbitrary. Oh, come on, come on. Auto, percentage, and click in here. I want 81. Well, come on. percentage. Yeah. I'm just using the slider here. There we go. 81 looks a little bit too small, but I'm going to leave it at that. We can go ahead if we want. We can make it a little bit larger. That looks pretty good. Okie doke. So now we put an image in the background, but we're going to put another image in the background. And the way that you do that, you have to actually go in the code view to do that. Let me see here. I want to make sure. So we're going to add another background effect. We're going to use the background color. We can add the background color to this. So I'm going to go back up to background color. And we want to use the 090 color, I think. So I'm going to switch to hexadecimal. And I'm going to use the pound sign 090. So that's that deep kind of green we used before, and that fills it. And again, the only reason we have that is a solid color is in the event that the end user, when they go ahead and render this page in their browser, if their browser does not have is not capable of using current standards, then it wouldn't allow these background images. So it would go ahead and it would just default to the solid color. So I've got that. I think that's working. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to have to change that gap eventually. But let's go ahead and add some other effects. So I've got the background color, and I've got the logo positioned, which looks good. Now what we need to do is we need to fill in the background here with the stripes. So if we go back to my layout over here, we want these striped images. But to do that, we only have a space over here for one background image. So if I click here, where do you add the background image? You have to go to the code view itself. But we don't want the source code. We want to look into green styles. So by clicking on green styles, I'm going to pull this up a little bit so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to scroll down here. And where we have header.row H2, okay? And then we look down here, header row P. We finally get the whole header row. And you'll notice that we see right here, we have our margin, okay? We have, I hope I put it in the margin. I'm going to have to go back and see. That might be why we have the gap here. We have background images, fern.ping. Well, I want to add another one. So I'm going to go ahead and to do that, I'm going to put in a comma here. And I'm going to put in URL. And I'm going to put in the bracket. Now I'm going to put in images. And I'm going to put in stripe. Notice that pops up. Come on. .png. There we go. Now what we want here is we want it to repeat along the x-axis. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to put in comma, and I'm going to put in x repeat, or repeat x. I think it's x repeat. Okay. I'm not sure. Hold on here. I want, repeat X. I did it the wrong way. See, I told you it's easy to mess up. I want it to be repeat -X. There we go. So I have that. We got that. Oh. the reason that ping isn't going there is because I forgot to put, there we go. So we've got that, we've got repeat X, and then we want the other one to be auto. So for the background position, we want it to be auto. Okay. Then the next one down here under background size, we want that to be left top. And let's go ahead and whoops, semicolon. Let's see what we get. And I've goofed something up here. So we have center, auto, repeat X. So what have I goofed? Let me pause for a second. So what I had done, a couple of things that I had mistakenly done. I added margins of 20 pixels. I didn't want margins, I wanted padding. So it adds a little bit of space inside there. So I want 20 pixels. I'm going to use the shorthand. And I want auto. There we go. So that should fit there. I still have a problem down here. You'll notice that the green stripes do not fit correctly. So we have top left. We have background size, auto, so that's correct. It's not stretching all the way down to the bottom. So there's clearly something more that I've continued to, let's look at this again. We have that. Looking at the background color, we have the background image, which is the ping, which is good. It's repeating along the x-axis. We notice that we have, this is where we have a double thing here. We have, this doesn't belong here. So somehow I added some extra stuff here. Let's get rid of this. And I have some double stuff going on here. That is much better. So now it's getting to fit correctly. So we have our background color, 090, padding is correct. Background size, I'm going to get rid of this too. That's looking much better, but it still is off a little bit. So there's something that I've done wrong here. So I'm going to get rid of the padding. And I'm going to get rid of background color because that's a mistake. And I'm going to come back up here and go back and put in that background color. So I really messed this thing up, but I'll make it fit. So we have background, no repeat X. Okay. We have background position, 40%, 47% and center, top left. That's correct. Background size, auto 80% and auto. So why is that not working? That should work. Background size, oh, we have it doubled. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out. That looks right. So I believe I have all of them. That looks correct, but I need to add that background color, put that back in there. So let me go back to source code. Let's go back, make sure that we have source code here, and let's go back to the background color. Oh man, I really messed things up today. So let me go back in here. Background image, background, where I don't want to see the set. I want to show all. Let's look at background. Background color, let's go ahead and put that back in there, 090. There we go. That looks much better. Now it works. But still, the fern is a little bit too small. So I'm going to go back again. And again, it's this constant tweaking in here. So we have the background position. We have the size here. It's background size. It's 80%. I'm going to increase the size of it just a little bit. There we go. And that looks much better. The other thing that we need to do is we need to add along the top and the bottom. We're going to add the top here. I want the width to be in pixels, and I want it to be 5 pixels. So we're going to add a border along the top and the bottom. And the style I want to be solid. And the color I want to be, it's kind of an orangish color. And I don't remember which one they want. So I'm looking at the book myself, FD5. So it's, I'm going to go ahead and hexadecimal number. And I'll put FD5. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to the top and add it to the bottom as well. So let's go to the bottom. So we've added that ruled line, again, 5 pixels. And style solid. And color, that was FD5. I'm going to add that to my color palette too. And there you go, we've added it there. So despite all of my mistakes this morning, I was able to get it resolved. But again, it's going back and it's checking to make sure that you're putting in the numbers in the correct order. When I went in here to green styles, I had duplicated some of those elements. And that's where the problem arose. I thought I had put them in the right position in here, but again, there were some down below that were duplicates, and it was causing and wreaking havoc on the whole darn thing. So we've got the background and we've got our header completed today. And I will not be here next Tuesday, but next Thursday we'll continue and we'll be able to wrap this part up. We'll be able to finish our template. And if you guys are having any issues, as I did today, we'll be able to work on them and fix them. Okay. So that's it for today. Is there anybody else that came? Wasn't here? No? Okie doke. So that's it for today. I'm going to head off and go to a meeting, and I will see you again next Thursday. Any questions before we leave today? I only have a couple minutes. No? Okay. You guys are free to go. And I apologize for the little glitches here.